Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. Thought we'd sit down this morning and do a little bit of an injury update. Everton had live streamed a training session yesterday at USM Finch Farm and there was a couple of little bits and bobs of injury updates that I thought we could sit down and talk about. I also want to talk a little bit more about Doucoure. Obviously, you know, we don't quite know what's happened with him yet, but what we do know is that he's going to be out for at least the next couple of weeks or so. Carlo Ancelotti said after the Chelsea game that he expects him to be out until after the international break, which is of course is at the end of March. So it looks like we've got a few games at least to play without Doucoure. There were some rumours going around last week about it potentially being a fractured bone in his foot, and that might be 6 to 8 weeks, and you know we might see him out for an extended period of time. Little bit strange that that wasn't confirmed and that Carlo Ancelotti come out and basically said we don't know what it is, we just know that he's not ready, he's picked up an injury. But, you know, we still need to sit down and talk about basically who comes in to replace Doucoure, because if there was anything shown on Monday against Chelsea, it was that we simply missed that energy in midfield. We missed that, you know, that player that gets about the pitch constantly, that's breaking the play down, that's picking the ball up, that's constantly in the opposition faces. And Doucoure is that player. And ultimately, you know, I want to talk about, you know, when, you know, obviously Luca Dean picked up an injury and Alan picked up an injury, and we stumbled across players that could replace those two, and different types of and styles of playing in order to benefit from those players that were coming in to replace your Luca Deans and your Alans, etc. And how we're going to have to do that with Doucoure now, because he's a key part of this team. He's a key element to this squad, and without that energy in midfield, you know, Everton are nowhere near as good a side as we are when he is in there. So we're going to talk about him and who can come in to potentially replace him in the centre of midfield. We're also going to give a little bit of an injury update. Like I said, Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman were videoed back in training yesterday at USM Finch Farm, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, James Rodriguez and both Gylfi Sigurdsson as well, to be fair, weren't videoed. Now again, that might just be a case of the pair of them training separately or having to train in, you know, two different groups because of COVID or what have you. Or it might have been a case of the pair of them were maybe just doing something else at the time and they were doing separate training. Like I said, I don't know. But anyway, the pair of them weren't featured in the video yesterday. But before we get into all of that juicy information, massive thanks to everybody for joining us live. I know it's only early, so I really do appreciate it. If you're watching and you're enjoying, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Only takes a second. Before we get into any of the juicy information, don't forget that this video is being sponsored by the Football News 365 app. Got a cool little graphic to pop up in front of me face there. Absolutely unbelievable app. Keeps you up to date with all your latest Everton news, scores, updates, fixtures, etc. You can download it via the link in the description. It'll help out the channel massively if you could download it as well. It's free to download on iTunes, Google Play. Like I said, you can keep up to date with all of your latest Everton news. You can see the Premier League table, you can see our results, our next fixtures, some of the stats from games, and it's just an absolutely excellent app, the best app for all of your Everton information as well. So don't forget to go down in the description down below, top line, click that download link and download the Football News 365 app. Really appreciate that, and a big thanks to them for sponsoring this video, as well as obviously the last however many videos on the channel that we've spoken about the app. It's a brilliant app. I've been using it now for a couple of weeks. You get notifications as well, which is fantastic, and yeah, it's just a top app, and it's also ran by an Evertonian, so you help a fellow Blue out as well as myself if you download it in the description. But anyway, let's get into the juicy bits then of the live stream. Like I said, I apologise that we didn't do a live stream yesterday. By the way, I was a little bit busy, so I couldn't sit down and do one. But it turns out that today was a better day to do one anyway, because like I said, we've had a little bit of an injury update, I suppose. Nothing official from Carlo Ancelotti, nothing formal from Carlo Ancelotti. He hasn't had his press conference yet ahead of our game against Burnley on Saturday. I assume that'll either be later on today or tomorrow, probably more likely tomorrow. I'm sure we'll hear a more in-depth update on the likes of James Rodriguez and Gylfi Sigurdsson in that press conference. But, you know, we've got little bits of information to feed on. One of those bits of information is that both Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman were seen, I don't want to say pictured because it was a video, in training yesterday. If you don't know what happened yesterday, Everton basically decided to live stream a training session. Now, I don't know whether this was live as we were watching it, or whether it was a pre-recorded video and they'd premiered it on their YouTube channel to make it seem like it was live, because there was a lot of, different cool camera cuts, etc. And it just didn't really have the feeling that it was a live broadcast and we were watching it as the players were training. But nevertheless, they live streamed a video of the Everton first team squad training at Finch Farm, getting ready for the game against Burnley. And I actually think it was a really, really good idea, to be honest with you. I thought it was a really good idea to get fans engaged in training, let fans see a little bit more of what goes on behind the scenes, obviously the chemistry between the players and the different training drills that go on throughout the week, so that if we lose to Burnley on Saturday, we can all sit there and go, well, why were they passing the ball around cones? No, I'm only messing. But in those videos, we did see Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman back at USM Finch Farm training with the rest of the team as well, which is obviously a massive, massive positive. Both Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman have been out for quite some weeks now, Mina more so than Coleman, of course, and I would like to say that we've missed him. We've missed his aerial presence. We've missed how good of a defender he has been this season. I understand that obviously Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey have been very, very solid for the majority of the time that Yerry Mina has been out injured, but I want to talk about Ben Godfrey and a potential position switch again for him a little bit later on in the live stream. But obviously fantastic to see Yerry Mina back in training. And like I said, for me, you could even argue he's been one of our best players this season. You could certainly argue he's been one of our best centre-backs. He's been very, very solid, very commanding. Pretty much every game he's played in, he's put in at least a 7, 8 out of 10 performance. In the air, he's absolutely exceptional. And he's built this partnership with Michael Keane, which I think is unrivaled in the Everton camp. Let's say, as good as Ben Godfrey is and as brilliant as he's been this season, and as good as Mason Holgate's been at times this season, I don't think there's any centre-back partnership that quite work as well as Yerry Mina and Michael Keane do. I think the pair of them have been absolutely brilliant this season, and it'll be obviously fantastic to get Yerry Mina back. We've seen him a couple of weeks ago on Dan Danashi's Twitter account. If you don't know Dan Danashi, he works with the squad. I think he's a fitness trainer. He's just an absolutely top bloke. We've seen Yerry Mina on Dan Danashi's Twitter account, and he was on the bike and he was hobbling and he was saying that he's ready and he wants to get back to playing. And he just seems like a really, really great guy to have around the training pitch. Yerry Mina. We were talking, me and my missus the other day were talking, and she said if you could sit down, basically, if you could meet any Everton player, who would it be? And I think I went through about 10 of them. I think I said Dominic Calvert-Lewin, James Rodriguez, Richarlison, and then I said, well, if I could sit down and have a drink with any Everton player, it would probably be Yerry Mina, because he just seems like an absolutely fantastic person to have a conversation with, and a fantastic person to be around. He's such a positive energy, and you could see from that from that video a couple of weeks ago, when he clearly wasn't ready to play games of football, he clearly wasn't ready to get back involved with the team. He could see he wanted to. He was there saying, no, I'm ready to go. And Dan was saying, no, you're not. Your calf's still pretty much hanging off, mate. You're not. But absolutely fantastic to see Yerry Mina back in training yesterday. Like I said, we don't know whether he's going to be fit for Saturday. It doesn't mean he's going to be fit for Saturday just because he was back in first team training, but it is a massive boost, because, usually I think the way in which these things works is, obviously the players go through individual training when they've had an injury, then they might be on the pitch themselves on their own with a couple of coaches, and then they go back into training with the first team. And Yerry Mina looked like he was back in full flow training. It might have been his first day in full flow training. It might be a week since he's been in there, but it is a boost nevertheless, because like I said, he's a fantastic player. He's been brilliant for Everton this season, and it'll be absolutely great to have him back in the start 11. So that is a massive injury boost. Seamus Coleman as well was pictured or videoed in training in a very similar situation to Yerry Mina, and it'll be fantastic to have Seamus Coleman back in this Everton team again. Last performance was the Merseyside derby, in which he was absolutely excellent in when he was called upon. I think he come on and done an absolutely fantastic job. And yeah, obviously we haven't seen him since. He was part of that, I don't want to say group of players, but he was in with your likes of your James Rodriguez and your Tom Davis in the fact that they all played in the Merseyside derby and then all managed to pick up injuries at the same time, and we haven't seen them since. Obviously we've seen Tom Davis against Chelsea, but we certainly haven't seen Seamus Coleman or James Rodriguez since. So it was again great to see Seamus Coleman involved in the training yesterday. Fantastic to see him back and working hard, and hopefully he'll be in contention of playing on Saturday as well. Like I said, we don't know whether Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman will be back for Saturday. Again, I don't want to give any false representations or say something that isn't true. Like I said, we'll hear a more solid update, a more reliable update, I suppose, from Carlo Ancelotti either later on today or tomorrow, whenever the press conference is. I don't know when it is, and he'll give us that update as to whether Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman are back and ready to play or not. But at least we know that they're back in first team training. At least we know they're back there and they're working hard and they look okay and everything seems to be as it should be, which means if they're not available for Saturday, there's a good chance they'll be available for the coming games, which is obviously fantastic news. So brilliant to see Yerry Mina back, absolutely fantastic to see Seamus Coleman back as well, because, you know, he's been, again, I think he's been quite solid this season, to be perfectly honest. Yes, he's had a couple of games where he struggled in, but for the majority of his games this season, certainly that Merseyside derby a couple of weeks ago, he's been absolutely excellent. There were a couple of players that seemed absent from the training videos yesterday, James Rodriguez and Gylfi Sigurdsson. There were a whole load of players that you could see training. Alex Iwobi was one of them, Luca Dean was there, Josh King was there, Richarlison was there, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I believe, was involved as well. Some of the young lads, Nathan Broadhead, Tyler Onyango, all involved in training, but there were a couple of players that I think certainly one player who everybody was looking out for, and he was not to be, James Rodriguez. Now obviously there's growing worry surrounding James Rodriguez, given the fact that he hasn't played since the Merseyside derby, given the fact that Carlo Ancelotti come out actually after the game against Southampton and said, look, it shouldn't be too serious, we hope to have him back within the next couple of days or so. Obviously he wasn't back for West Brom. There was a hope that he'd be back for the game against Chelsea. He wasn't back for the game against Chelsea, and then Carlo Ancelotti did say after the Chelsea game, or before the Chelsea game, he said that whilst James mightn't be available for this game, that the hope is that he'll be available for Burnley on Saturday. Now, James Rodriguez may have just been given an extra day's rest yesterday when the training was taking place in order to prepare him for the game on Saturday. Carlo Ancelotti might have said to him, this is the afternoon session, you've already done the morning session, we don't want you to pick up a knock or jeopardise your fitness ahead of Saturday, so you don't have to take part in the morning session. You go and do some bits in the swimming pool. He might have been with the physio, he might have been in the gym, he might have been doing something else. That's my point. I don't want to sit here and say just because he wasn't seen in that training video at that time through those cameras that it means he's not fit and he's not going to be available for Saturday. In the same way as that I'm saying it about Gylfi Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson never picked up an injury on Monday night against Chelsea, so if he isn't available on Saturday, he's obviously picked something up through through training. But just because they weren't filmed, just because they weren't on that video, just because they weren't seen, doesn't mean that the pair of them have picked up knocks and they're not available. They could have just been doing something else, they could have been working on something else, they could have been I don't know, maybe getting some physio or something like that. But it was a concern for most Blues that were watching that live stream yesterday. I jumped involved in the comments during it, and all you could see was where's James, no James. And it was funny because everybody was sort of picking a player. Where's DCL? Oh, there's DCL. Where's Iwobi? Oh, there's Iwobi. Where's Yerry Mina? Oh, there's Yerry Mina. Where's James? And then it just constantly went throughout the comments of where's James. And look, like I said, again, Carlo might come out in the press conference and he might be asked a question about that. We had a live stream at saying the other day James Rodriguez wasn't involved. Why not? And he might say, because I give him the afternoon off. He trained hard in the morning and I told him that he's going to be starting on Saturday, so I give him the afternoon off, and we'll all be sitting here going, we worried for nothing there. But again, like I said, it's still a talking point. When it seemed evident that the majority of the first team squad, at least the ones that we expect to be fit going into Saturday, were involved, there was concern as to why Gylfi Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez, certainly considering those are the two players who are creative sparks. I mean, myself and Tom are going to sit down a little bit later on today and talk about Gylfi Sigurdsson and his contract situation and the potential of giving him a new contract. But I think one thing we can all agree on as Evertonians is that James Rodriguez and Gylfi Sigurdsson are creative sparks, aren't they, in this team? Let's be honest, if something is going to happen, it's more than likely going to happen through one of those two if they're on the pitch. So to see them both absent from that training session was a little bit of a worry, but like I said, it doesn't mean much. All as it means is that, like I said, we can look out for what Carlo Ancelotti has to say in his press conference about both of those players. But like I said, if I'm going to sit here and talk about Seamus Coleman and Yerry Mina being back in training, I have to talk about the fact that James Rodriguez and Gylfi Sigurdsson were absent. If you're enjoying, by the way, enjoyed so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Really, really do appreciate all of the support. Massive thanks to everybody for getting involved in the comments. Let's get involved in the live comments then. Luke says, hello, lad. How's everyone been? I'm all good, mate. I'm all good yourself. Jason says, hi, Cam. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone is fine. I'm all good. Hope you're fine yourself. Big Nozza says, hi everyone, all fine here. Great idea, gives us all an insight. Yeah, you're spot on, it is, and I like more of that. I like seeing more of the the behind the scenes stuff, because we've obviously, Everton have massively improved this season. The improvement for this season compared to last season is just night and day, and it's absolutely clear to see. But I agree, I love seeing the little videos and the little, the clips of the players jumping around and getting involved. There was one that was released yesterday, and it was Richarlison scoring a goal in training, and he's sliding on his knees like he's absolutely made up. And it's great to see that insight, because it just shows the camaraderie and the the togetherness of the team, and how much of a family that team of players and the manager are. And you don't see a lot of that in modern day football. Obviously, modern day footballers are very, very, very secluded. They're kept away from the public. You don't really see them in the street much. You definitely don't see them, on public transport or on the way into town. They're very, very secluded. They turn up on a match day, they do the job, they turn up to training, they do the job, and then they're back into their homes or their areas where, the average fan probably wouldn't bump into them. So it is good to have a little bit of an insight and to see what goes on in the training pitch and how the players are training and what they're working on. And because ultimately, if we see a week of training or a couple of days through the week of training, and they're evidently working on set pieces, and then we turn up on a Saturday and score a set piece and defend 10 of them brilliantly, then you can look and go, well, we've already seen that on the week. But I understand the flip side of it, where Carlo Ancelotti's thinking, okay, this might be great for Evertonians to watch. This might be great for the Blues to sit down and watch a live stream of the players training and what we're working on ahead of Saturday. But on the flip side, the opposition team might be sitting down and watching it and going, right, they're focusing on set pieces there. They've just done a 45-minute drill on set pieces, so we'll avoid them on Saturday. So I understand both sides of the story. Obviously, it's a great insight for the fans. It really, really is. And little clips that don't show too much and don't show the workings of Carlo Ancelotti, shall we say, they're harmless and they're great to see and they're great for us fans. Don't get me wrong, it would be boss to turn up and watch a full training sort of video and watch exactly how the players are training and what they're working on, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Joel says, Cam, what time do you call this? I'm in school. Sorry, Joel. I've got to do an early live stream today because I've got a couple of videos planned in about half an hour or so I thought we'd just sit down early on this morning and do a little live stream. Luke says, unlucky, Joel, I just got out my COVID test ahead of me going back to college. Jason says Everton is more important than school. Luke says I can agree. I started actually watching football like 2 or 3 years ago. I feel much more engaged in football than my A-levels business course. I can't condone that. I don't want to have any angry parents on me scene saying you've condoned that. School isn't. School is very, very, very important. Go out, get your A-levels, get your qualifications, work as hard as you can. I'll still be here in the summer when school's over and when you've got your qualifications. So put your effort and your work into that. But a big thanks obviously for the support. Big Nozza says, let's hope we can get all of the injured players back ASAP. Can't afford to have them out for too long. And Jason says, I don't think we were ever going to see James play a full season every game. Well, and again, the injuries are frustrating, aren't they? And as Big Nozza said there about injured players, I mean, you look at this Everton squad, and when was the last time we actually had a fully fit Everton squad? I mean, we started the season really, really well with everybody fit. We then had a period where Richarlison was suspended. We then had a couple of games after that. Luca Dean picked up a 3-month injury. He worked his way back into the team pretty much as soon as he was, coming back into the team. Alan picked up a 2-month injury. Then he went out. Now he's working his way back into the side. Now Abdoulaye Doucoure's picked up an injury, which could see him out for a number of weeks. So it seems like every time we're just about getting the squad to a really, really good level in terms of pretty much everybody fully fit, somebody else goes and picks up a long-term injury. And it's never, it's never nice to see any player pick up an injury, but it always seems to be a key player, somebody that's vitally important to this Everton team and this Everton squad. And we'll talk about Abdoulaye Doucoure in just a second. But, you're spot on it. And in regards to James, look, it's frustrating. It is frustrating because, obviously we don't want to watch watch James Rodriguez play one game and then have 4 games out injured. That's not ideal whatsoever. I don't particularly believe, and this is up to people, I suppose. It's an opinion, and opinions are fair enough. That's why we're all here. That's why I do this channel, to get involved with everyone's opinions. That's why we read out the live comments. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new as well, share the video so I can get as many people as we can involved. But yeah, like I said, that's why, some people's opinion may be that James isn't injured and he just, sometimes he doesn't want to play. Sometimes Carlo Ancelotti has maybe given him a little bit of time off. I don't believe that. I think that when Carlo comes out and says, look, he's hurt, I generally think he is hurt. Again, that is frustrating, and that is a little bit annoying, considering how good he has been this season and how important he is to this Everton team, certainly creatively. But I suppose it's something that we're just going to have to put up with. Ultimately, I think we knew sort of when James Rodriguez come into Everton that he had injury issues in the past, that he had struggled in the past, and that maybe he was going to have periods of time where he's out injured and we have to deal without him. And I think we've dealt without him quite well during those periods of time. But look, hopefully he's back and he's ready for Saturday, and he can go and have a decent game on Saturday and not pick up an injury, and then he can get a decent little run of form in before the end of the season. Anyway, let's get into talking about Abdoulaye Doucoure, because I think it's a vital subject. We touched on it briefly on Tuesday in the game review to the Chelsea game. The week feels mad. It feels like a Wednesday today, but it's not. It's a Thursday. We played on Monday, whereas it feels like we played on the weekend. It's just a mad week this week, isn't it? But Abdoulaye Doucoure, like I said, we touched on him briefly on Tuesday's review to the Chelsea game. We touched on how we massively missed his energy, how I think Alan was asked to do that Doucoure role on Monday night, and it just didn't quite work. Look, I absolutely love Alan. And I think it's fantastic that he's back. I think it's fantastic that, he's ready to start games of football again and really, really get involved. But ultimately, I don't think he's got the energy to do that Abdoulaye Doucoure role. We spoke about how when Alan picked up an injury, Abdoulaye Doucoure was sort of asked to fill in his role. And I think on Monday night, it was quite the same, only vice versa. Doucoure picked up an injury and Alan was asked to do that role. And I just don't think he had the energy to do that. Like I said, we haven't got a solid update on Abdoulaye Doucoure. Yeah, it really does confuse me a little bit, because obviously, he picked up a little bit of a knock in the West Brom game. He went off injured. We all sort of thought, right, okay, he'll shake that off. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. And then in the week that followed, completely unrelated to the West Brom injury, I believe, there was a lot of rumours talking about how he's potentially fractured his foot, fractured the bone in his foot, how it could be 6 to 8 weeks out, how he could potentially be out for the rest of the season, how it's not looking great. And those rumours always seem to start in these mad WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups, and you always read them firsthand and think, yeah, that's a load of nonsense, that. But then they always come true. I remember the Luca Dean one was exactly the same. I remember reading the Luca Dean one because I've been sent it on some WhatsApp group, and I thought, yeah, that's just a Liverpool fan on the wind-up, that there's no way that's serious. And then, let alone, a couple of days later, it was announced that Luca Dean had picked up an injury and he was going to need an operation and he was going to be out for 2 or 3 months. So it very, very, very much felt like this one is that you're reading it and you're thinking, no, surely Abdoulaye Doucoure hasn't fractured his foot in training. There's not a chance. And then the more and more that days go on, and the more people that are closer to the club that start to come out and talk about it, you're sort of thinking, well, maybe this actually has maybe this actually has happened, and we are going to be without Abdoulaye Doucoure for quite some time. Obviously, it comes to Monday night, then he wasn't involved in the Chelsea squad, wasn't in the starting 11, wasn't on the bench, and you're sort of thinking, right, that pretty much confirms it. He's hurt himself. He's going to be out for a sustained period of time. We're going to have to deal with that. And then Carlo Ancelotti come out after the game and never mentioned the fractured bone in his foot, never mentioned an injury that will keep him out for 6 to 8 weeks. He just said he picked up a knock in the West Brom game. It's an important injury, he said, and he's likely to be out until at least after the international break. He said that we're not quite sure exactly what it is yet. So I struggle to believe that somebody in the club knows that it's a fractured bone or it's a fractured, something with his foot, and that information has got out to the general public, but Carlo Ancelotti doesn't know that. So that's what I mean. I'm a little bit confused about the Abdoulaye Doucoure situation, but what we do know on the on a base level is that he's going to be out now for quite some time. He's going to be out until at least after the international break, which is the end of March, and he's going to miss 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5 games that are vital to Everton. The next 3 games are absolutely massive for our season. You know, we had a big week last week, obviously beating Southampton early on in the week, beating West Brom, which was a massive result, losing to Chelsea, which was disappointing, but again, Chelsea are a very, very good side, and now we've got a massive, massive week. Burnley, Crystal Palace and Brighton, and we absolutely need to take 9 points out of those 3 games. Nothing less than 9 points is acceptable, certainly if we're wanting to fight for a position in the Champions League. And you know, it is it's pretty clear that Abdoulaye Doucoure is going to miss every one of those games. So I assume, like I said, same with James Rodriguez, same with Yerry Mina, same with Gylfi Sigurdsson. I assume we'll have an update on Abdoulaye Doucoure in Carlo Ancelotti's pre-game press conference. Hopefully we've got a little bit more information about the injury. Hopefully we have a time scale as to when he'll be able to return by. But like I said, what we know just on a base level is that he's going to be out for quite some time, and that he's going to miss at least a chunk of Premier League games before now and the end of the season. And that obviously isn't ideal, because for me, he's been one of our most influential players this season, even in those games where Abdoulaye Doucoure's passing maybe isn't as good as you'd like it to be. Even in those games where Abdoulaye Doucoure's hold-up play maybe isn't as good as you'd like it to be, his energy is still absolutely, completely unmatched. You can't match the energy that Abdoulaye Doucoure brings to this Everton team. He's constantly getting about the pitch. Oh yeah, Luke says, don't forget we have the Man City game in the Cup, stuff between Burnley and Palace. Yeah, we've got Man City a week on Saturday as well, so we've got Burnley, City, Palace, then Brighton, I believe. So 4 massive games there that Abdoulaye Doucoure is likely to miss. Well, I think it's pretty much confirmed that he will miss it, because they're all before the international break, I believe. But yeah, like I said, it was quite evident on Monday night that we missed that energy in the midfield. Even when Abdoulaye Doucoure is not having the greatest of games in terms of his passing or his hold-up play, that energy, that work rate, that intensity to constantly get about the pitch is just essential to this Everton team. Absolutely essential to this Everton team. And we seen on Monday when certain players, your likes of your Gomez's or your Allans, were asked to do that Doucoure role. He just can't do it, because nobody has that engine that Abdoulaye Doucoure hasn't. And that's, I think, the problem with this Everton team now, is that you look at it and you think, who comes in who's got the energy, who's got the engine, who's got that ability to just run and don't stop running for 95, 96, 97 minutes and never drop that level. Abdoulaye Doucoure doesn't start off in the first half absolutely excellent, chasing everything and being brilliant, and then in the second half sort of fade out. He's at that level for the entire 90 minutes, getting about the pitch, constantly making himself known, constantly being a presence, getting forward, chasing everything down, being that player that's constantly in the face of the opposition. That never drops. So you look at this Everton team now and you think, who is going to be the player that steps in and replaces that energy in midfield? Now, I look at our midfielders and I think Alam, absolutely fantastic player, brilliant at what he does, fantastic at his role, best player in the club at doing that role, but that role isn't the Doucoure role, and has he got the energy to do the Doucoure role? I don't think he has. There were a couple of occasions on Monday where he had to chase back and he, you know, maybe he was caught a little bit higher up the pitch and he had to turn and chase and he just couldn't do it. He just didn't have the pace. He didn't have the energy to do that. You look at Gomez and Sigurdsson and you think there's not a chance they've got the energy to do the Doucoure role. There's not a chance they've got the engine. You look at Tom Davies and think potentially maybe Tom has got the engine to do it, but has he got the consistency to do it? Has he got the, you know, like I said, the engine to carry on going for 90 minutes consistently, game in, game out? Obviously, Jean-Philippe Gbamin's still out injured. Fabian Delph's a write-off this season. So you look at the rest of our midfield and you think, who steps in and can do that Abdoulaye Doucoure role? I don't even necessarily want somebody who can come in and do it as good as Doucoure, just somebody who can come in and do it slightly similar to Abdoulaye Doucoure can, to replace that energy in midfield. And you start to look at the rest of our midfielders and think, well, we don't want Alan to do it, because then that means he's being taken out of his usual role, and he's so important in that usual role. We know Gomez and Gylfi Sigurdsson can't do it. Tom Davies maybe, potentially could do it, but again, I wouldn't be completely confident because I don't think he's big and physical enough potentially to do it. I think he's better in that Alan role, as we've seen, and I wouldn't want to ruin Tom's confidence, especially given he's been playing fantastic recently. And then there's only 2 other options for me, and these sort of coincide with Yerry Mina returning to fitness, and those 2 other options are Ben Godfrey or Mason Holgate. Both have played central midfield before. Mason Holgate we've seen play central midfield for Everton on an occasion against Manchester United, and he was excellent. And Ben Godfrey played a whole season in central midfield, I think, when he was on loan at Shrewsbury. And you sort of look at those two players now and you think, right, okay, when everybody's fit, so the whole back line are fit, aka when Yerry Mina comes back to fitness. Let's say on the weekend Carlo Ancelotti or Carlo comes out whenever the press conference is and says, yes, you know, Yerry Mina's back fit, he can play on Saturday. Seamus Coleman's back fit, he can play on Saturday. Would I prefer, and again, it's difficult because Yerry hasn't played for a long, long time, and I don't want to say, yeah, stick him back in and pick up another injury, but let's say that you know, Yerry was 100% fit for the game and he was ready to step in and there was no issues about match fitness or whatever. Would it be the worst idea to have Luca Dean at left back, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina reigniting that fantastic centre-back partnership at the back, Seamus Coleman at right back, and then either Mason Holgate or Ben Godfrey in that role that Abdoulaye Doucoure does in the centre of midfield? Because let's be honest, when Yerry Mina returns to full fitness and when he returns to being able to play again, he's probably likely to sit in there with Michael Keane. They're probably going to be the centre-back partnership because they have been for the majority of the season and they've been fantastic for the majority of the season as well. So they are probably going to be the centre-back partnership that Carlo Ancelotti prefers when they're both fit. So what happens then to Ben Godfrey, who's been absolutely exceptional this season? The amount of games that he's played, he must have played, what, somebody will know, maybe 15 games this season so far. And he's maybe had one not great performance in those 15 games. Not even a bad performance, just one not very good performance in those 15 games. Every other performance has been absolutely exceptional. So you look at a player like Ben Godfrey and you think, right, you have to be in this team. You absolutely have to be in this Everton starting 11. You can't be sitting on the bench. Mason, I think, is a bit of a different question because I think Mason's had a couple of games where he's looked like he's really, really struggled. The Chelsea game being one of them. And I think if Seamus Coleman returns to fitness, I think he'll probably sit in that right back position and Mason will be the backup sort of right back to Seamus. But again, like I said, you know, you look at Ben Godfrey and you think you have to be in that starting 11. There's not a chance we can play football without you in that starting 11. But will you be there as a centre-back? Probably not, because you've got Yerry Mina and Michael Keane who've been excellent. Are you going to be a left back? Well, no, because we've got Luca Dean who's been a fantastic left back. Yes, there's the potential of Luca Dean pushing further forward and Ben Godfrey playing left back, but again, I think that'd be a stretch. So where does Ben Godfrey fit in? Why not play him in central midfield? This is a lad who played left back when Luca Dean got injured and was absolutely exceptional. I remember when Luca Dean picked up his injury, I was one of those Blues, and I'm sure there was a lot of us that was sort of sitting down thinking, what are we going to do here? Luca Dean, the best left back in the country, arguably the best left back in world football, so vital to us, creating chances up top, so vital to us even defensively as well. How are we going to cope without him? We've got a young left back in Niles Nkunku who, let's be honest, hasn't got much experience whatsoever. How are we going to cope without Luca Dean in this Everton team? Ben Godfrey stepped up and just went, I'll play there. As long as I'm playing there, I'll play. As long as I'm playing, I'll play there. I don't mind. And he didn't just play there and you think, yeah, you can see he's a centre-back playing out of position. You'd swear he was a left-back. If you hadn't watched Everton before, if you didn't know Ben Godfrey, you'd swear he was a natural left-back during those games against Chelsea at home, Leicester away, Arsenal at home when he was playing left-back. To the point where when Luca Dean returned to fitness, there was genuine, you know, we were genuinely sitting here, all of us, I think, as fans, me included, thinking, does he get back in this team straight away because Ben Godfrey's been so good? Again, when he's been asked to play right back, he's done it really well. When he's been asked to play centre-half, he's done it really well. So would it be too much of a stretch to say to Ben Godfrey, you go and sit in that centre of midfield next to Alan and James or Gomez or Sigurdsson or whoever the other midfielder would be, and you go and provide that energy that we're missing now that Abdoulaye Doucoure's out? Alan can do his regular role. He doesn't have to be worried about doing anything else. Whoever's playing, you know, with them, be it Gomez or Sigurdsson or James, can do the attacking bits and bobs, and you, Godfrey, sit there and do the running round. You do the chasing. You be the energy. You be that player that doesn't allow anybody to come through. You be that player that's constantly on the opposition toes, constantly putting a tackle in, constantly bringing the ball forward. Would it be a stretch to maybe say to Ben Godfrey, go and do that role? Because let's be honest, he was asked to do a left-back role when none of us thought he could do it, and he done it brilliantly. He's been asked to play right-back when we all sort of thought, could he do that? He's done it fantastically. When he's played centre-half, he's been brilliant. Obviously, the other alternative is Mason Holgate, who's had a game or so at central midfield and did play really, really well. Obviously, he's had less experience than Ben Godfrey because Ben played pretty much an entire season there at Shrewsbury. But again, you've got two really good young defenders there who arguably you'd say both of them, certainly Ben Godfrey, should be in this Everton start 11 week in, week out. They're probably not going to be in there as centre-halves because Yerry Mina and Michael Keane have got such a solid partnership, and Yerry Mina's coming back into full fitness now. Mason's probably not suited to playing right back. He's been exposed there too many times. So they're both sitting there waiting for a place in the team. None of our midfielders can replace the energy that Abdoulaye Doucoure brings. So why not say to Ben Godfrey, go and sit in that central midfield? You've said you'll play anywhere. You've said you're happy to do any job as long as that you're helping the team out. Go and sit and provide that energy in midfield. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then you sit there and go, we tried it, it didn't work, oh well, we move on. The only other alternative, I think, for a player who could potentially bring as much energy as Abdoulaye Doucoure does is Tyler Onyango. And he is still very, very, very young. Obviously, no first team experience really, other than a couple of minutes in a cup game. In terms of, I think he's a similar player to Doucoure in terms of his physicality, his energy, his engine, his size. But again, very young, very inexperienced, and you don't want to ruin his career by throwing him in at the deep end and putting that pressure on him. So why not say to a Ben Godfrey, go and sit in that centre of midfield, go and be that extra midfielder that brings that energy that we're going to miss with Doucoure. It might work an absolute treat. We might be sitting here in 7-8 weeks time, or however long Abdoulaye Doucoure is going to be out for. Again, we don't know that yet, but we might be sitting here whenever Abdoulaye Doucoure comes back to fitness and saying, well, does he get straight back into the team? Because Ben Godfrey's been exceptional at central midfield, and he can pass the ball, and he can get forward, etc. So for me, I think that's where, and again, I don't want to start telling Carlo Ancelotti what to do or how to set his teams up, or how to where to put certain players. But I think that's probably our best option. I was lying in bed yesterday and I was literally just dozing off to sleep, and it come into my brain, and I thought, that's it. That's the replacement for Doucoure. That's the scenario. You're going to have Yerry Mina back to full fitness in the next couple of weeks or so. He's going to be fitting it, slotting in next to Michael Keane at centre back, obviously, because they've been excellent this season. You've got Luca Dean at left back. He's not going to be replaced. Yes, the right back situation probably still is open for Mason Holgate and Seamus Coleman, because again, Seamus isn't fit enough to go and play the rest of the season week in, week out. Mason obviously has struggled at times at right back this season. You leave Ben Godfrey there, who hasn't got a position in that back line for me when Yerry Mina returns back to fitness, and needs a position in the team because he's that good, he's that vital to us. So why not put him in that centre midfield area next to Alan and have him play that Doucoure role? He's got the energy to do it. He's got the engine to do it. We've seen that on a number of occasions. He's constantly working hard. He's making ball-busting runs in the last 5 minutes of games. He's good on the ball. He can pass the ball. He's fast. When he puts the burners on, I think he's faster than any player he's certainly come up against in the Premier League this season. He hasn't been beaten for pace once this season. He's big, he's physical, he's strong. He can bring the ball forward. We've seen that on a number of occasions. So why not give him a go in central midfield? We've got nobody else. Let's be honest, the only other midfielder you could say might be able to do the Doucoure role is Davis, but even I've got me reservations regarding Davis doing the Doucoure role. I think he's much better at doing the Alan role, if you like, the number 6. So why not give Ben Godfrey a go there? But there you go. Look, that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. I dare say we'll see Gomez, Sigurdsson and Alan in the midfield on Saturday, and I dare say we'll all sit there holding our faces after it. But look, that's just my opinion. Again, if anybody else has got a different opinion or disagrees, let me know. Who would you put in to replace Abdoulaye Doucoure, to replace that energy in the centre of midfield? Who do you think can step in and do that? If you're enjoying, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. We'll get involved in the live comments before we finish up then. Big Nos says, spot on, never going to play them all. Luke says, have you seen Richarlison's got the R19 back? Yeah, seen it on Instagram yesterday. Bossed that, innit? Absolutely bossed that. Philip says, I'm still in bed. Lazy get is right, Phil is right. I'd still be in bed as well, to be honest, mate. Eugene says, happy birthday, Tommy. Yeah, Tommy Gravinson's birthday today. Philip says, at least he was a free. If it goes wrong, nothing lost, really. Fair point. Big Nos says, Doucoure will be a massive miss. Not the greatest passer, but his work rate and energy is second to none. I think Tom Davis could play the role, fair enough. Philip says, regarding the Chelsea loss, it wasn't a battering. They won with an own goal and a pen. We could have easily got a point. You're spot on, mate. Big Nos says, the performance of Chelsea was better than a lot of people think. We had chances, but that quality we need was missing. missing, I agree. Luke says, I completely agree. Cam, with the amount of times we see Godfrey get the ball and charge through midfield, you're spot on. Philip says, Richie missed a sitter early on and Dom should have scored too, I agree. Same old Everton, what's happening, mate? He says, hello, Cameron. And Luke says, Ancelotti, the player is injured who should be put in for him, Godfrey. Well, and again, you know, Godfrey was a player who, when we signed, we all said, yeah, this lad's got versatility. He can play right back, he can play centre-half, he's played in midfield. I don't think we expected him to show the versatility that he has shown this season in terms of playing left-back and being excellent, playing right-back and being excellent, playing centre-half and being excellent. So we might be sitting here at the end of the season going, thank God for Ben Godfrey. We could all be sitting here going, for as good as Doucoure has been with his energy in the midfield, for as good as Alan has been being that pit bull, for as good as James has been with the creativity, Ben Godfrey's our most important signing, because not only has he put in consistent 8, 9 out of 10 performances week in, week out, but he's also been that player that whenever we've had an injury, he stepped in and done that job. Dean was injured, he stepped in and done that job. Mina was injured, he stepped in. There's been times when Coleman's been injured, he stepped in. We could be sitting here saying Doucoure was injured, he stepped in and done that job. So we could very well be sitting here at the end of the season saying Ben Godfrey's our most important signing, because he stepped in at every point that we've needed him to, and he has shown more versatility than I think anybody could ever have imagined. And I personally, I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about it, and myself and Tom a little bit later on today, but I personally think that's the way that we should go. Big Non says, you're right, Cam, Godfrey could play the Doucoure role, but I like Godfrey at left back and push Dean further forward, makes us more solid at left. Me and Keane are great together. Fair enough, mate, fair enough, I agree. And Moz says, play King against Burnley, Cam. I would, because I think Josh King needs to start playing games of football, to be honest. Certainly if we've got a view of signing him on a permanent in the summer, because it's nonsense coming off the bench in the last 5 or 10 minutes and then even thinking about signing him, it's pointless. But whether he will or not, I don't know. Big Nos says, saying that all week, get King in against Burnley. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know whether Carlo Ancelotti will go with it. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. Little live stream, like I said, to start the morning off. Thought we'd do an injury update, talking about Yerry Mina, Seamus Coleman, James, Abdoulaye Doucoure, Ben Godfrey as well. Let me know your thoughts on everything that was spoken about in the comments section down below. If you're enjoying this one, please do hit that like button. 24 people watching. If you could get to 12 likes, 9 likes currently, if we could get a couple of more before we end the stream, it would mean a great deal to me. Don't forget, by the way, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. It only takes a second. If you have enjoyed this video, this live stream, please do share it on social media. Get as many people involved as we possibly can. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments, as per usual. Really do appreciate the support. It means a massive amount to me. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. Don't forget to check out the Football News 365 app. First link in the description. Keeps you up to date with all of your latest Everton news, scores, information, etc. So check that one out. Massive thanks to everybody for watching us live once again. Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with the game preview. We'll probably have a couple of videos in between them, but there'll be videos where myself and Tom sit down and talk about a number of topics. Big Noz says, great show, Cam, as usual. Take care, mate. Cheers, Big Nozzer. And Mozza says, cheers, Cam. Come on, you Blues. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate that. Massive thanks for watching. Please do leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.